Matt Hendricks is our treasurer here here up front with us. Welcome. Thank you all for being with us. We appreciate the attendance at these meetings. It's one of the forums that we use to disseminate information and have dialogue. Hopefully, many of you have either been on our website or been on the Facebook page or used the Nextdoor app. Those are other vehicles that we use to both disseminate information and receive information back from folks. So we appreciate you being here as one of the opportunities to engage with your neighbors. We're going to jump right in to the Treasurer's Report and dues update, Matt.
Okay, let's see. Not much activity since our last report, so I'm going to just do a yearly summary. And everything that we have done throughout the years listed on the spreadsheet. We are about to have to go to 2 pages, so the font is a little small. So far for the year, we have taken in $83,480 plus a couple of dues payments that I've gotten this evening. We are a few homeowners behind in how many have paid, about 9 actually, less homeowners paid this year than last year. However, because of the way we structured I think the dues letter and asked people to pay more and just kind of laid out the fact that, you know, we are operating in a deficit most years because our dues are only $40. The average dues payment this year has been about $64, $65. So we've taken in about $2,000 more this year than we did last year. Our expenses since the last homeowners meeting have really been maintenance from the front entrances, a post office box renewal, and our electric bills, which have now been combined into one single bill. So the additional lights that we picked up for homeowners, the entrance lights as well as the street lights, have now been combined, so you won't see separate entries on that anymore. And our last electric bill is about $300. So, and that's probably what it's going to run, plus or minus $20 each way, depending on the daylight hours, you know, are shorter in the winter, longer in the summer. That is all I have. Does anybody have any questions over the treasurer's report? Is there a move to accept the treasurer's report? And second, we're good.
All in favor say aye.
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. So jumping right into current activities, hopefully all of you have had an opportunity to check your mailbox, and in your mailbox you received a letter from Hillary, Matt, and myself. And you've had a chance to read that letter. I'm not going to review the content of that letter, but I do want to talk just for a second about why we sent that out and what the follow-up is going to be from that, and then we can have a dialogue about that as much as you all want to. The purpose of that letter was to do really what's stated in the letter, which is to say we're the HOA, here are the great things that are happening, these are the ways that you can connect and find out what's going on, and see these are some of the things that we've been working on as an HOA over the last 18 months. The other purpose of the letter was to recognize that even though, for the most part, we have a very vibrant, healthy, well-kept neighborhood, there are a couple of exceptions to that, and we are taking it upon ourselves to proactively reach out to some people and have some conversations about their properties, and/or I referenced animal mismanagement. I was bitten by a dog running the other day, and that's one example of the times that I've had dogs chase me out into the road while running. And I wasn't in anybody's yard, I was on the road. And I know I'm not the only one. And so dogs, more than any other animal, although there are other animals that we need to be aware of how we manage, but dogs being the primary concern in terms of safety, the fact that there are several that run around. If you're on the Nextdoor app, you'll notice that one of the recurring themes on the Nextdoor app is there's a loose dog, and whose dog is it? And that's something that we need to be aware of for safety concerns, especially as this neighborhood continues to get younger. And I don't know if you all have noticed, I certainly have noticed that there are more and more families and kids walking in the afternoon and evening and riding their bikes, and so I think safety with our animals and doing what we're supposed to be doing with them is key. So The follow-up from that letter, we distributed that last evening. Everyone received it. Whether they've read it or not, it's up to them, but everyone received it. And now we are following up with one, two, I think 4 or 5, maybe 6 or so homes in the neighborhood where people have voiced some very specific concerns about yard maintenance, vehicles, unused or unkept vehicles in the yard, so forth and so on. We have already had one of those conversations. We have reached out to another person to set up another one, and then we'll reach out to the balance of that group in the next several days to set those conversations up as well. The purpose of those meetings is to remind people of the expectations that we have both in the covenants and just as a neighborhood around facilities maintenance and how their yards are kept up. The fact that we can't have trash and items of that nature in the yard, unused vehicles for many years in the yard, things of that nature. And to state that this is the expectation, and we all, as an HOA and as a neighborhood, believe in that, and there will be continued pressure for people to adhere to those policies as we move forward. We're hoping that, I'm going to use the word peer pressure, for lack of a better word, or a better way of putting it. We're hoping that some peer pressure, both in knowing that everyone in the neighborhood received that letter, that we're making it public, that we're following up with some people, and then follow up with those individuals specifically, that will generate some movement and some change. So, questions about that letter? Questions about...
Can Hillary live stream the conversations?
The question was, I think it might have been a sarcastic question, but I'll repeat it nonetheless. Can Hillary live stream those conversations? Do I have to answer that? Maybe? Yeah. Questions about any of that? Or comments? Questions? Yes?
It just should be noted that as neighbors, we have a right to contact people, but I don't believe that the homeowners association has that right in the bylaws to try to enforce the covenants. The covenants and the bylaws are separate, and there's nothing in the bylaws of the homeowners association that gives them the authority to push something. I think peer pressure, friends, neighbors, what have you, makes sense, but I don't think that we can go beyond that.
Did everyone hear the comment? Oh, okay. I don't want to stand here and speculate about what will be after we have these conversations. I want to think about what we're going to do, and then we'll go from that point. I will say that I think that one of the expectations, both in spirit and in writing in the bylaws, is that the HOA does have some level of responsibility to ensure that people are adhering to the covenants. How far we can take that is a different conversation and not one that we're going to speculate on right now. I will reiterate what you said, though, which is very true. Within the covenants and legally and otherwise, one neighbor is allowed to approach another neighbor and to encourage them to X, Y, and Z, and or even take legal action if they so choose, if someone's out of line with the covenants. We've discussed that in the past. I'm sure it was been discussed in this neighborhood before I was here, and that's very accurate. If someone feels like they need to take some action beyond a conversation, then they've got the right to do that. And I don't, like I said, I don't want to speculate as to where we might go as an HOA. The purpose of that letter, as I said, is to kind of make everyone aware very publicly and very openly about some of the concerns, and then approach those people individually and have those conversations, and then we'll see what happens. In a perfect world, all's made well. It's not a perfect world, and so we shall see. Other questions or comments?
Best wishes on your chats with everyone. That's all I can say. Are you doing it yourself? You
The three of us.
The three of us, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I might get with you and see how it goes. Neighbor of ours, I might have a chat with after you contact them too, because
Thank you.
we're very close.
Yeah, and we've actually not discussed what our formal follow-up will be with the HOA, but I'm sure there will be follow-up. We won't have those conversations and just let them sit.
Okay.
We'll follow up in some form or fashion with you all, let you know. I guess to say how they went might not be entirely accurate, but maybe what the result is going to be now is maybe a little bit more accurate. So.
I can only speak for the past, and in the past, the HOA has supported the board and the president in enforcing the HOA. It's went back as long as I've lived here, which is 25 years now.
Yeah.
And things were brought back to the HOA meetings, which were brought to them, and they voted on action to take. And sadly to say, when we had some good cooperation, we got to a point where we couldn't go any farther, and then they pulled out, not doing any farther as far as court. Now you have a hard time enforcing anything because you've let things go. It's just the facts.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right. Thank you. Anything I'm missing, you two, on that specific topic? I don't want to move off that. There's something to it. Okay. All right. Update on the Lewisburg entrance. We talked last time, and maybe you've noticed that there is some erosion happening when you turn right into the entrance, coming from downtown Franklin up Lewisburg and turn right. You'll see some erosion. Hillary actually placed a couple of reflectors there just to make people aware, and those have even started to kind of sink and fall because of the erosion. We finally got verification that it is a TDOT issue. We now know that. TDOT has referenced it to the Williamson County office of Williamson County TDOT office. They came out and looked at it and are now determining what to do. The last communication I had with them was 3 or 4 or 5 days ago, was within the last week or so, and there was not a determination of how to handle that. What I was told was that right now it doesn't present any imminent danger, and so it's not high on the priority list in their world. There's not a question about who's responsible for it. It is their responsibility. They will own that. The question is how to handle it. And how to move forward. Again, I don't want to speculate too much, but they did talk about that if it's going to be corrected in a way that's going to be more permanent and long-lasting, there might have to be some pretty significant work done to that road, which would impact that entrance for a little while, and that just might be something for us to be aware of. Not a reason not to do that, but just something, if that ends up happening, we'll want to communicate that proactively so that people are aware that that entrance might be funky for a little while that work is being done. But it is something to be aware of. If you take that turn kind of sharp, you can even start to feel now how it drops. There's some pretty real erosion.
Or if you bike or walk around that area, you got to watch your step.
Yeah, Hillary said if you bike or walk around that area, you have to really pay attention to where you are and watch your step there. So, yeah.
This is off the subject a little bit, but as you pull into our entrance off of Henpeck,
Yeah.
I guess just a couple nights ago, there was a major truck. It looks like it was, huge. That made big
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
ruts right on the side of the road in somebody's yard, the big yard on the corner of the Blue Farmhouse. So, and it looks, and Gary and I were talking today, I mean, it's probably a foot deep and 3 feet long and a foot wide. I mean, it's a huge 2 rivets. Is that something that the homeowner would definitely have to take care of, or is there a chance that the county might fill it in since it's right there on the side of the road?
No, it would be the homeowner. The county's not going to, I would imagine it's going to be the homeowner. I can't imagine that they would step in and do anything about it. And I could be wrong. I could reach out to that homeowner and find out. I don't know how it happened. I saw those, Debbie. I don't know how it happened.
How it happened either. I have no idea. It took some doing.
Where was it?
You pull in off of Henpeck, and right as you crest the hill, on the right is the blue farmhouse, the original big property. It's about 100 yards off of Hempeg, but it's right on the side of the road. I was just curious about that. I mean, I don't even know if the homeowner's aware of it, really.
I don't know, yeah. Along those same lines, and for full transparency, we actually had a request, and we're gonna send this on to the.
I already did.
This has been sent on, thank you, Hillary, to the homeowners that this impacts, but a couple of bus drivers have asked about some trees and their branches that hang significantly over the road right up here at the entrance, about potentially cutting those back. That's not something that we, the HOA, are going to try to do, or even could do, or have the authority to do. We don't have that authority. That is the homeowner, but we've passed that request along. That's just for your information, if that comes up. Anything else on that erosion? Questions? Okay. Update on streetlights. As we mentioned, I think at the last meeting, we identified another round of lights that we'd like to install. I reached out to all the homeowners that would be impacted. I heard back from probably 30 or 40% of those homeowners. I reached out again, heard back from another handful, and now we're going to do what we did last time, which is say, hey, this is the third time we've reached out. If we don't hear anything this time, we're going to assume that's approval, and then we'll move forward. And once that's complete, then we will move forward with those next round of lights. Fortunately, it's been the summer, and so not quite as significant of an issue, but the goal will be to get that done before winter, before late fall, as it starts to get dark earlier. And just as a reminder, the purpose of adding streetlights is almost entirely about safety. There's still some parts of the neighborhood that are really, really dark on the streets if you drive them or if you walk them or ride a bike or whatever you're doing on the street. And so we want to try to light those street areas as much as we possibly can without property, which is why we're reaching out first to get approval, and then we'll go from there.
Can we see a map of where those lights are going to be? Is that on the website or the addresses?
It's not on the website. I think that the best thing for us to do would be the map that shows where they are is not on the website.
Is it?
It's not.
Oh.
We would have to, I don't know, Hillary, if it would be easier just to distribute that, or if maybe we could load a PDF or something.
Probably could do
like
that. I'll have to go back to Corinna
Yeah.
and maybe get it updated to the new proposed ones, because the last map was the old proposed ones
Right.
that are installed, all but one or two now. So we made some color copies last time, but we could distribute those. And
But not electronic.
I do have electronic of the old one.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
Nothing.
do that. Yeah, we've got a comment on the Facebook Live that I just wanted to share if you want to address
Please,
it. It says Mike mentioned visibility at intersections like Bowman and Creekside due to overgrown trees and bushes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I see your hand. I'll get to
That's
you in
from
just a second.
Mr. George Cole.
Thank you, and that actually raises another piece. There are some areas of the neighborhood where we've got, as that comment was mentioned about overgrowth over stop signs or street signs, things of that nature. We're also going to follow up with those homeowners and see about getting those cut back so that those signs are made more visible as well. So thank you.
And we've also talked about using those reflectors in other places that might be helpful as well, because they've been pretty helpful at the front.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, sir.
Just to note that the street light at 2210 Isaac Lane is not functioning. It isn't really a problem because it hasn't functioned for 7 years.
It was on the initial repair list.
Do something about that.
I got it, Bert. Any other questions, comments about lights?
The
Yes.
one on our street is officially off our bill finally and on with the HOA, so yay!
Excellent.
Joe, did you hear that? Finally.
You got one thing right.
Thank you. Thank y'all for doing that.
I don't know about that.
You don't have to shoot it
Good. Quick update, the fall yard sale will be Friday, October 6th and Saturday, October 7th. We'll put the signs out all over the universe, letting people know about the yard sale. Obviously, that's a good time to have a yard sale because you get a lot of attention in the neighborhood. Not much else to say about that. Holiday activities, which seems odd to me to stand here. I just came from like softball practice where it's hot and humid and we're talking about the holidays, but 'tis the season. So just a quick update on holiday activities. We've asked, I don't know if I can mention her name or not. I've asked Debbie. I just named her, but just don't look at her when I name her. I reached out to Debbie and asked Debbie if she'd help coordinate the holiday open houses this year, and she said yes. So thank you very much, Debbie.
Thank you, thank you.
And so you'll be receiving communication sometime in the next month or 6 weeks or so about those open houses. If you recall, last year we had 5, 6 or so, somewhere in that ballpark, of open houses right around the holiday. It was really a way for people just to get to know one another. I think probably also curiosity about how houses are laid out and how they're decorated and things of that nature as well, which is nothing wrong with some healthy curiosity. And so we're going to do that again. I know that we've had already some additional folks raise their hands and say that they would like to host one. If you are also interested, once we send out that communication, Debbie will be the person to communicate with so that we can get that scheduled. So more information to come on that. I helped organize the caroling last year. We are going to do that again. I think that we learned a lot from our first year. It was a wild success in my mind because I got to go with my kids and sing Christmas carols at people's houses, and so if it was just me and my kids, I was two thumbs up.
That was pretty much it.
That's fine by me. If that's all it is this year, I'll be 2 thumbs up. But we are going to I am going to coordinate that, organize that again this year, and so start getting your singing voice warmed up and ready. Hopefully 3 months is enough time for some lessons, so it doesn't become like a Halloween thing and we're scaring people. It's a holiday thing. We're cheery. Anyway, we are going to do that again. We'll find a date and based on participation, maybe 2 dates to do caroling. One of the things I want to go ahead and put out there, and I think we did an okay job of this last year, but didn't quite get the volume that I think exists in the neighborhood, is if you've got recommendations for people to go and carol to, we'd love to have those. We went to the homes that we had last year, and then we kind of just started going to some random homes that we knew, not completely random, but and that went well also. But if you've got folks that you think would enjoy that, or maybe don't get out as much, or whatever the case may be, let us know that. And as you get communication, you'll be able to communicate with me about that opportunity. And we'd like to have a long list. I'd love to do that for multiple days if we can. I'd carol to every home in the neighborhood. At least me and my kids will. So, anything else I'm missing on holiday stuff?
I don't think so.
Okay. Section leaders and section leader coordinator. Hillary, Matt, and I met the other day, and one of the ideas that came out of that meeting was the potential need, or I think very real need, to have someone that works with the 3 of us and also is involved in the HOA that can help coordinate our section leaders. We get some good things out of those section leaders, but it's somewhat disparate, I think partially just because of organization, which I've got to take some responsibility for. And so in taking that responsibility, we've reached out to someone and asked if they'd be willing to coordinate those section leaders. That person is giving that some consideration, and will get back in touch with us in the next little bit of time. And if that individual says yes, that they're willing to, then we will have a section leader coordinator that can kind of help out and support those folks in their various responsibilities. If you think about the way that the neighborhood is broken down into those sections, there's approximately 40 homes, give or take, per section. And so to have an individual who knows those 40 other homeowners and communicate more directly with them about holiday things or about other activities with the HOA or about safety concerns or about concerns with maintenance of homes or whatever, I think is a really healthy way for us to disseminate information and receive information. And having someone that can kind of help coordinate those folks will certainly help the three of us as we move forward. So more to come on that once we have that answer. We'll distribute that information as well, let you know who that individual is. And if that person is not able to, if that's not a commitment that they can make right now, then we'll reach out, we'll identify someone else that might be able to make that commitment for us. That is a good transition into something that I think I left off the agenda, which is my fault. I didn't mean to, but I think I typed it even. Probably typed it and deleted it. Anyway, the Thursday, November 17th, if my dates are correct, we will hold elections, and every position within the HOA is up for re-election. That's inclusive of the chair, the vice chair, the treasurer, the secretary, which has been an empty seat, and all of the section leaders. All of those slots are up for re-election. Obviously, those individuals could be re-elected potentially, but they do have to get voted in, and/or other people nominated, or other people who raise their hands and say they are interested in serving in one of those roles. So, I've given you, 2.5 months notice to think about section leaders if you want to serve in that role. And just a quick overview, the primary way that we've used those section leaders is exactly what I mentioned earlier. It's a way to have a more intimate knowledge of and intimate communication with the people that live on your street or your little block or the streets that touch your street. So that's not always coming from the HOA, but it's coming from Susie down the road or Johnny down around the block or whatever the case may be. That's one of the roles. The second primary role of those section leaders is just to help with some of the lifting that happens throughout the course of the year around a variety of different events. So that doesn't always fall to whoever happens to be sitting in these 3 seats, or these 4 with the secretary. I think the responsibilities of those 4 officer positions are fairly obvious. Treasurer obviously manages and handles money and reports out on that. Secretary is taking minutes and providing those. The vice chair does everything. They didn't get that joke. That was good, right? But how did you get it out there for you? The vice chair does everything, he says again, and the chair just stands up here and yaps. No. I think those roles are fairly obvious, and so if you're interested in one of those roles, give that some thought, and you can either self-nominate, someone can nominate you, and we'll have those elections in November. Questions about any of that? Clarity around what section leaders are, what they do? Yes.
Brian, I think that, in my opinion, being a section leader on Section 5, which is on HENPEC, if there is a shortage of section leaders, I think you should take the section leader off of Section 5 and put them in the neighborhood, because the people on HENPEC are going to be less likely to respond to what we're trying to do, as not just dues, but getting involved in caroling and open houses and even garage sale, because they're not as accessible. They're not really in the neighborhood setting so much. So if you only have 4 section leaders and you need 5, I would take that person off of 5. That's just a suggestion.
Okay. We'll think about that. Thank you,
Okay.
David. Next on the agenda, when we met, we also discussed we've talked about this a couple times at the HOA meeting, and not ever really had any tangible activity around it, but discussed the potential need of having a small group of people that would proactively check on some of our neighbors who are, as I mentioned earlier, who are either shut-ins, who maybe are elderly and don't have a lot of family around, et cetera, et cetera. The purpose of that, some of the reasons that has come up are the ability to maintain one's yard. I know of at least one individual in the neighborhood that really struggles to maintain their yard entirely because of their physical condition. I realize that's not the case with many others, but in this one instance, I know that that's the case. And so having a way that we can get that information and be aware of that and then try to do something about it, as opposed to just be concerned or complain about an issue that we don't really fully understand, I think is a proactive way to approach that. We also had a neighbor who passed away, unfortunately, a little while back, and the person wasn't discovered in their home for a couple of days because they didn't have family and things of that nature. And so I don't know that this would solve that, but it just reminded us again that there are some individuals in the neighborhood who are in a place either physically or for some other reason that it's difficult for them to leave their home or to do other things around their home. And for us to know that and then to attempt to organize some efforts around that, I think would be positive. So we've reached out to a group of people that we think are willing to support that effort and kind of proactively identify and proactively reach out to those individuals and inquire as to what their needs may be, and then we'll see how we can organize from there. Questions about any of that?
If you're interested in being one of those people
Yeah.
that would like to help, please contact me or Brian or Hillary anytime you'd like. I don't think this is going to be an extremely active group, but just from a neighbor standpoint, we kind of need to, the community that we're all striving to live in.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. And that's a good transition to the next piece, which I'm going to ask Megan to give just a couple minute overview or kind of recap of the pool for the past summer. But my family are members of the pool. We have been since we moved in 6 years ago. And I can tell you that the experience that we had at the pool this year was different from experiences in the past, in that there is a growing sense of community in this neighborhood. Specifically, I can speak to that pool. There is in other ways also, but you hear people talk about, oh my gosh, we've been here for a year and we love it, or we've been here for this long and we're never going to move, or people who come to the pool from other neighborhoods are begging, borrowing, stealing how they can buy a house in this neighborhood, and so there's a great sense of community here. I coach my youngest daughter's soccer team, and out of the 12 girls on the soccer team, 11 of them go to Oakview, and out of those 11 that go to Oakview, 6 of them are in the neighborhood. And so we almost have like a neighborhood soccer team of little 7-year-old girls. And I don't know that was necessarily the case 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, just because of the demographics of the neighborhood. And so as that continues to change, the need for and the desire for individuals to reach out and encourage interaction in a positive way, neighbor to neighbor, and in a community, I think is really important, and that's another way to do that. And the pool is a great way, if you're interested in things, is a great asset to have and be a part of. So if you don't mind to share just a recap, Megan.
I'm Megan, the current president of the Oakwood Pool. This year has been a good summer. We have kind of hit our technical max capacity at the pool. We're at about 126 families right now, which is great. That's the highest we've been. As Brian was saying, with the community growing and changing, we have had a lot of new families move in, a lot of families with younger kids. It's been kind of fun this year at the pool to see all the kids. I mean, at any given point on a Saturday, you walk in, you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea there were this many kids in the neighborhood. So it has been a very positive thing. With that being said, there's still a lot of our senior population that is at the pool, and we love that. They love to come and watch the kids and sun in the early mornings when there's nobody there. With that said, we have opened up the pool to neighboring communities, and we have a lot of that. Neighbors, friends, they're involved within this part of Franklin. A lot of those have joined the pool. If there are new families moving into the neighborhood, you are automatically going to be accepted. We have started a waiting list for outside families at this point wanting to join the pool for next year. So, I mean, it's been a good summer. We've had some fun activities. We have an end of the year pool party coming up, I think on the 27th of August. So that's open to the community, whether you're a member of the pool or not, you're welcome to join that. It's a lot of fun. We do weird games and egg tosses, and kids dive in the pool for coins and soda cans. So it's a lot of fun, but it is a good place to meet friends and have community. So that's kind of the brief cap of that.
Any of the new hours?
Yes, the pool hours this year, if you are not aware, after school starts, we typically don't open until 1. This year, the lifeguards that we had lined up as college kids to take that shift were let go earlier in the summer due to some behavioral challenges, so we're glad they're gone. However, the only guards we currently have are high school students. So our hours right now, during the week, Monday through Friday, we do not open until 3. If you know of someone or there's a group that is wanting to have a moms-only swim earlier, contact me. We're trying to make some dates available to do some earlier swims and things of that nature. But yes, that was kind of a transition this year, and will not happen again, but life happens, so.
I'd like to have a mom's only swim. No, that's not.
No.
You should ask. Thought I'd ask. Thanks, Megan. Anyone that wants to come out and watch your Oakwood Estate soccer team, Saturday mornings, man. We're out there practicing most mornings.
Where at?
Right there next to the pool.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll be there. Is tomorrow Saturday? No, tomorrow's Friday. The next day. Yeah.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Did the pool officially annex that soccer field? Has it always belonged to the pool property? Because
Yeah.
Yes.
we've practiced for years out there too.
Yeah.
And we've mowed it a few times, and some other folks have mowed it. And with further use on it, I know that the goals are in real disrepair. Would that be something that might be consideration to?
Yeah, so without diving down a potential rabbit hole, I've spent enough time out there because I coached. That's the space that we used for the past 2 years for the soccer team. And what I can tell you is that there's a decent number of kids that also walk over from Sullivan Farms, and I don't think it's just Sullivan Farm kids. I'm sure there's kids in Oakwood Estates who act this way too. But those goals get abused in a very real way. And I would want to be thoughtful about investing too much in something that we can't monitor. That's not to say that's not a good idea, because I've thought about doing something. Because I just bring my own goal out there. But it is used for that purpose. The pool does own it. The pool does allow for people to use it for that reason. I'm blanking completely on the gentleman's name who I've contacted, but there's someone in the...
Typically Bruce Coverly.
Yeah, thank you. Who I've contacted, and he kind of very generally kind of oversees that and says yes. So I know he's gone out there and cut it before too. So, yeah. As much as anything, I think there's about to be a safety concern about those 2 goals that are there. That white one, my assistant coach and I tried to move, and it's not in good shape. And I would hate for a kid to jump up and try to do a pull-up on it and the whole thing collapse. So anyway. Any other questions about the pool?
I just have a little question.
Yeah.
For people who aren't in the neighborhood, do they have an out-of-neighborhood fee that's different from an in-the-neighborhood fee?
Not currently. They have to pay the new member initiation fee of $100 to join, and then they do have the same rate as us. And that was started several years ago because the pool membership had declined to such as families that had been here since the 70s, their children were now gone, they were no longer joining. We were down to about 50, 60 families. So we started allowing other people just more to bring revenue in so we could keep the pool up. As the neighborhood transitions, that will start to change.
I was just curious. I thought, well, if you need money, that might be a way to get an extra 100 family or something.
Exactly.
Any other questions, comments? All right. New business. Anything people need to bring up? Of the 1,500 people viewing us on Facebook Live, any comments that we need to address? No other okay. No other new business? Okay, so as a quick reminder on some things, our next meeting is Thursday, November 17th. We will hold elections at that meeting, and so if you are interested or you are interested in nominating someone else for one of the positions, be thinking about that. If you've got questions about various responsibilities, feel free to ask Hillary, Matt, or myself, and we'll answer them to the best of our ability. Anything I'm missing, Matt, Hillary? I don't think so. Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.